House of Representatives and Central Bank of Nigeria agree a term limit will no longer apply to the validity of old Naira notes after the expiration of the February 10 deadline. Asia Pacific shares trade higher as investors gear up for Federal Reserve rate hike decision. Plus oil stable as market awaits Federal Reserve OPEC decisions. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Good to have you join us, and it's that time we talk business. I'll start by telling you that the House of Representatives has approved President Muhammadu Buhari's request for additional from the Ways and Means advances to enable implementation of the 2022 supplementary budget. Lami Ali reports that the approval is to address the effects of last year's flood on roads and water infrastructure, agriculture, and completion of some critical ongoing projects.
Is as recommended by the House Joint Committees on Finance, Banking and Currency, and that of AIDS, Loans and Debt Management.
The component of the request, that is the additional 1 trillion, which has clearly been earmarked to fund the 2022 supplementary budget, needs to be urgently considered. This is in consideration of the fact that the budget is built to elapse by March 31st, 2023.
In the case of the larger part of the Ways and Means advances amounting to 22.7 trillion naira, the lawmakers resolved that a detailed and thorough submission is required from the executive through further engagement with the joint committees. The Ways and Means advances are loan facilities made available by the Central Bank of Nigeria to the government to finance budget shortfalls. Meanwhile, the House has approved the recommendations of the ad hoc committee set up to engage the Central Bank of Nigeria and commercial banks following developments on the implementation of the cashless policy.
The CBN, as a regulator, should restore over-the-counter transactions and increase the withdrawal limit at the ATMs in line with the cashless withdrawal policy.
The House directs the CBN governor to put to effect the provisions of Section 23, which is to the fact that the currency does not lose its value.
The old note will continue to be redeemable even after the expiration of the deadline.
The only thing that is not redeemable is a mutilated, destroyed, or lost or imperfect currency Naira note, not an old note. And I thought it was important that I make that point, so that Nigerians it will also lessen the panic. It will lessen the panic in the system.
7 bills were read for the third time and passed, while the bill to establish Federal Medical Center Daura, Katsina State passed second reading. Plenary has been adjourned to 28 February 2023. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali.
The governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, is appealing to Nigerians to endure what he calls temporary hardship over the new cashless policy and Naira redesign in the interest of the country's economy. He stated this when he appeared before the Special House of Representatives ad hoc committee on new Naira notes and cashless policy. Dayo Ogunsala reports.
This meeting is the third in the series aimed at interfacing with the Central Bank of Nigeria and other key players in the nation's monetary sector. After the initial inability of the CBN governor to honor the invitation, Godwin Emefiele is here. Leader, House of Representatives, laid bare the mandate of the special committee.
No one of us here is in doubt that the cashless policy of your own bank and the government is of course a good policy. But when policies are now coming on in the eyes of too much storms in the face of the people, storming the economy, shuttling agriculture, stopping transportation, left, right, and center, with our constituents crying out, then of course we are under moral obligation to seek clarifications from you.
For the CBN boss, one of the outstanding mandates of the Apex Bank in the last 19 years is being realized, promising that the bank will obey all the guiding rules.
Because the overriding benefit to Nigeria and to Nigerians is what we're interested in, which is about making our economy stronger and then combating the high incidence of insecurity in our land. In my last comment, subject to the content of the CBN Act Section 20, subsection 3, which says, even after the old currency has lost its legal tender status, that we are mandated to collect those monies. And I stand with the House of Representatives on this. What does that mean? You would have lost its legal tender status, in which case we have moved on, but you have your money that you have not been able to send into the bank. We certainly will give you the opportunity to bring them back into the CBN and redeem it.
There are, however, concerns from members of the committee.
So when a woman sells a bag of rice and comes back, and how is she supposed to transact again when the highest she can get, if she has to swap the currency, is 10,000 naira?
Give it to them. The minimum withdrawal at this moment should be 20,000 naira, so that will ease the tension at the ATM machines.
The special ad hoc committee requested for details of releases of new naira notes to commercial banks amidst other requests, so that informed decision could be taken. From the National Assembly, Dayo Ogunshola.
Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria has clarified its position on the legal tender status of the old series of the 1,000, 500 and 200 bank notes after the February 10, 2023 deadline for depositing the affected banknotes. Speaking with newsmen in Abuja, the Director of Corporate Communications Department at the CBN, Hosita Nwani-Sobi, explained that the old notes will cease to be legal tender after February 10, 2023 and can no longer be used for any form of transaction afterwards. However, he stated that in line with the provisions of Section 20, subsection 3 of the CBN Act, Nigerians would have the opportunity to redeem the face value of the naira only at the central bank after the currency had lost its legal tender status, subject to meeting certain conditions. Nwani-Sobi encouraged Nigerians to adopt other payment channels for their transactions, saying that Nigeria's payment system is robust enough and ranks amongst the first in the world. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria, still on it, collaborating with Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, has recently launched the National Domestic Card Scheme to rival other payment cards in the country. The Domestic Card Scheme, Afrigo, is the first of its kind in Africa. How would this impact on the payment ecosystem in Nigeria is the focus of our discussion on the program. And joining me is a political economist, Aliu Ilyas. Aliu, good to have you join us.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure, you know.
Thank you so much.
And we're still talking about the currency.
Yes, and the economy generally.
Now we're talking cashless.
Right.
And Afrigo is the meat on the table. First domestic card scheme in Africa. Usually before now, we're used to some international connect.
Right.
Now we are domesticating.
Right.
What do you take? What do you make of this idea?
It's quite a laudable approach by the Central Bank of Nigeria. I think this one, Nigeria also celebrate them for bringing out this. Really, Nigeria has a low card to population ratio. Because if you look at our population compared to the cards we have, it's quite very, very low. And look at big economics or big population size of ours, they have domestic cards. Now, considering Nigerian peculiarities, this is a very laudable and it is the right time. Because if you look at the challenges of getting all these other cards, you have to pay some charges in dollars. You have to also do some transaction in dollars. So this is going to bring a stop to such a transaction. So we are considering our peculiarities now. You want to do maybe domestic expenditure, you will now be subject to use your own Nigerian card that will not cost you so much. Another thing is this, it also brings in competition. Anything that has competition will definitely force the price to come down. I'm sure other cards will also now look at it that now we are not the only one in the markets now. There's reason for us to reduce the price. By so doing, we'll have more people. So I think it's very good for Nigeria and very good for Nigeria economy and even manufacturing sector as well.
Okay, let's look at the prospect of this card.
Right.
Like you mentioned, if you're going to do some domestic transactions, you might just require to use this domestic card in place of the normal VAV and MasterCard. Yet you mentioned issue of penetration. Right. Was it the cost? Is it the cost of these cards, talking about the other cards that are in circulation that we've been using? Is it about the cost, or there are some other efficiencies aside the reduced cost the domestic card is bringing to play?
It's very, very cost effective. And when we say cost effective, it has to do with the purchase of how to get the card itself, the cost of producing the card itself, and the cost on the people that are using the card itself. Because if you are to embark on any transaction, you are being charged through dollar. And when you pay dollar, that simply means you are going to have a forex challenge. Then you are doing more to even help other economies. So now it's going to be a good one, because you want to transact business that is no more than 1,000, 1,500, and you are subject to use MasterCard or Visa card, and you are to also pay charges in dollars. So this will bring to a stop for this, and Nigerians will now have the benefit. Apart from that, it comes with a lot of benefits. Look at domestic market; it will create more job opportunity, more transaction method. A lot of things comes in with this, and perhaps I'm also happy that NIPS is in support of it, because we may think maybe it will affect their card and whatever, but they have also come together and believe that this is a better way to go. And it's not only beneficiary to Nigeria, West Africa and Africa as well. I'm sure apart from starting from domestic now, we can now expand over time to other African countries.
Well, this is the Digital Economy Week. And we are celebrating this at this time. It's also coming at a time we're having a redesigned Naira note, where we're having the e-Naira come into play. There is a lot of the EE thing, particularly around our monetary circle. What would you say possibly the impact on our fintech and payment system ecosystem in Nigeria?
Globally now, I think when we talk about fintech, I doubt if there's a country that can actually defeat Nigeria in terms of fintech currently now. Nigeria is doing well in terms of fintech, in terms of anything you want to think about fintech. Nigeria is the best for now. However, this policy will also help e-Naira. Now that we have e-Naira, and we also have our local card that consider our peculiarities, this will now be a better way, and will now enjoy more digital economy and digital payment. When you do all these things comes together, it reduces a lot of challenges. And even you can see, even globally now, in terms of doing digitalized payment through maybe online, Nigeria is also doing well. So we are doing well, and in the long run, what we want to achieve, we want to use that to make sure that this forex challenges come down to at least barest minimum level. I think CBN is on the right direction, and we all want to queue into it for bringing in such laudable idea at this point in time. It's because if you look at other big economy, India, Russia, Turkey, they are doing this and they're enjoying it.
Well, let's look at the place of financial inclusion in the whole of this. Right now, if you go out on the streets of Abuja or any other part of Nigeria, you see a lot of people queuing up at the point of sales, as well as the automated teller machines, trying to get the new notes to spend around. We don't have a lot of cash going. And the argument is, what have you been doing with these other innovations coming to play? So would you say this is also coming at the right time, and what is the possible impact? Also consider the issue of security, online transactions?
All right, thank you so much. It's quite appalling that at this point in time, we all have to go queue. Myself, I was in Kaduna yesterday and I had to pay. I had to collect money. I traded off thousands of naira to collect some thousands of naira. So it's quite appalling. I think there should be urgent action towards it. However, in terms of security, this innovation by central bank will help us to really reduce our fraud online challenges, because when you have your own card, you can control it within Nigeria, and that will help a lot. And in terms of maybe ease of transactions, I'm sure over time you see that in the next 1 year most Nigerians will prefer to even do online. I must tell you, when I boarded my vehicle from Kaduna to Abuja yesterday, I asked the driver, can I transfer to you? He said yes, and I transferred to the driver, a commercial driver at that level. That means we have moved ahead in terms of financial inclusion, and we are still going forward by this laudable policy of CBN.
In terms of broadband penetration, Nigeria is doing a lot, about the best in Africa. The infrastructure is there, but where do you think the challenge is in terms of workability, where I make a transaction and it fails, and for me to get a reversal is beginning to take days? This is the current situation between today and the last 3 days.
All right. The fact is that I just suffered one just now. I tried to book a flight from Abuja to Lagos, and when I booked the flight, I did not see alert removing my money online. So I had to try another step. Do you know that I was later charged for the two transactions? I've been calling this particular airline now to make sure they reverse the second one. It's become a problem. So infrastructure-wise, in as much as we are trying to grow this, we need to do more. And like what I said earlier, we have low card ratio compared to population. We have to do more about that. And when you are comparing Nigeria to other African countries, I think it's not enough, it's not justified, because if you look at your size, you should compare yourself with your size, not other countries. So Nigeria should do more in terms of infrastructure. And that's why I said I think the Nigerian interbank settlement system should also do more in collaboration with CBN to make sure they do this because if I had gotten alert on time, I wouldn't have booked another flight, and I had issue getting my money back. So infrastructure is very low. Nevertheless, if it's conventional banks that I send money to, they would have alerted me that you are doing a second line transaction. I would have get cautious. So I think other airlines or other systems should also look at that, whereby it can be controlled if at all you do not receive the SMS. So for infrastructure, Nigeria needs to do more for banking system, because major for people to be running back from online transactions is because of that security there itself. So we need to do more, yes, to make sure we have confidence in our banking system and we can always transact online. That is it.
I also want to believe it's work in progress.
Definitely, they are on the right track.
Thank you so very much, Elias Aliu, for sharing your thoughts with us at this particular point in time.
Thank you for having me.
Moving on, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Ni Adebayo, says the ministry in the last 8 years has achieved a milestone and gaining traction in making Nigeria an investment destination and export country, in addition to creating jobs through the productive sector. This was at the 21st edition of President Muhammadu Buhari Administration Scorecard. The engine room of Nigeria's economy says it has done very well under the present administration.
500,000 jobs, grants to over 80,000 businesses, support for almost 400,000 artisans and transporters, and free registration of businesses for 250,000 companies with the Corporate Affairs Commission. We have attracted investments of about $1 billion and created capacity to produce 400,000 units of vehicles. Therefore implemented the 50 billion Naira Export Expansion Facility Program, EEFP. The good news, however, comes from the strong foundation created by the achievements we have made, specifically in increasing Nigeria's investor friendliness, the aggressive focus on backward integration, our relentless non-oil export drive, and building a robust trade architecture.
Let's now take a trip to the commodities market. And still on commodities, oil prices were broadly stable as the market is looking towards a meeting OPEC and its allies, as well as a Federal Reserve rate decision and U.S. government data on crude and fuel stockpiles on Wednesday. CNBC reports that Brent crude futures dipped 5 cents to $85.42 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate U.S. crude futures rose 14 cents to $79.01 a barrel. To become tomorrow's innovators, entrepreneurs and leaders, the youth need to be empowered with required digital skills and technology needed to thrive in an increasingly digitized global economy. This is why policymakers and stakeholders in the digital ecosystem converged on the Federal Capital Territory at the instance of the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NACIMA, to discuss strategies for a vibrant digital economy in Nigeria.
We want to establish digital hubs in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country so that that will enhance employment, so that youth will now be redirected to go towards the positive side of digital.
Nigeria is the first African country to have Starlink broadband. Out of 54 countries, Nigeria is the first one. As we are talking today, the broadband penetration in Nigeria is 100%.
It is a money-spinning sector where young men and women can make it and go into genuine business through the different sectors of our technology.
And taking a look at the markets, the bulls have it on the equities market in Nigeria this Wednesday. The NGX All-Share Index advanced 53,499.68 basis points. Market capitalization also increased to 29.139 trillion naira. At the close of trade, more than 200 million shares were traded by investors in 3,716 deals, valued at 29.139 billion naira. Universal Insurance, Guaranty Trust Company and UBA tapped the activity. And at this point, let's join Bosede Abel for Global Stock Market Update.
Pure markets were slightly higher Wednesday, with investors carefully observing the U.S. Federal Reserve's next monetary policy decision later today. Asia Pacific shares traded higher as investors looked ahead to the Federal Reserve's Wednesday meeting, as well as some economic data in the region. Japan's Nikkei 225 gained 0.07%, Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index rose 1.05%, and the mainland China's Shanghai Composite also topped 0.90% to 3,284.92. Stock futures in the U.S. slipped Wednesday as investors looked ahead to the Federal Reserve's Wednesday meeting. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average shed 149 points. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq Composite futures were also on the red. A more positive trend for Africa stocks like the South Africa's JSE Africa Top 4.
Well, sorry for that glitch. Let's now see how much the Naira is exchanging for other currencies at the CBN official price. That wraps Business Express for today. Remember to keep in touch with us. Do send in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us via our various social media platforms. Business Express returns Thursday at 9:30 a.m. I am Benny Adam saying enjoy the rest of your day.